Hey everyone, Jared James here, and welcome to episode 65 of Today with Jared James. As always, guys, if you enjoy this, do me a favor, subscribe, give it a great review, a 5-star review, and a written review, and share this with someone else. I'd really appreciate it. I'm excited about doing the episode today. Today, we're going to talk about politics in business, which is probably not something that I should be excited about, but I think it's something we have to talk about right now. I think it's really relevant right now. But I do want to answer as well for a lot of you that have been asking, you've been sending me messages on Instagram and Facebook and all these places, like, why haven't you been releasing any podcasts? On one hand, that's awfully flattering because it means that you're actually listening to the podcast, which is a good thing. But there's been a lot going on lately. A lot of you that listen know that we just did our Jared James Advance, our 2020 Jared James Advance, and that was super cool and successful. And we had a ton of people in it, and we're still going crazy with all the people that are joining all of our stuff and joining coaching and joining, hiring a transaction coordinator and joining our CRM and hiring our marketing people to create leads for them. I mean, it's just been absolutely bonkers. Our salespeople would tell you that. So that's awfully cool. But there's been a lot of other things going on as well. I took a little bit of a break just because I was preparing content for the advance. And so I really took a break from, anything you've seen come up on YouTube or even on the podcast. I put the closing keynote from the advance on our podcast. It was the last podcast, but that was an audio version of the closing keynote. But even the stuff that you've seen me putting up on YouTube has been either something promoting something we're doing, our business plan training, our financial training, or it's been a clip on Instagram from the advance, but we haven't been doing any, content specifically for the podcast or YouTube, like a Jared James show on YouTube, just because I was preparing for the advance. So the good news is that break is over. Okay. So that is going back to normal now. We're going to start doing content every week again. So that's going to happen here. And then, the other thing before I get into our topic today, what have I been doing lately? Guys, I did a live event. I mean, oh my God. I was out in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I did an event for the Cutting Edge Realtors live in person. And oh my God, was it amazing. Like, they were amazing too. So if any of you are listening to this, shout out to you guys. You guys were amazing. I loved being with you. There's no doubt about it. But it was just other level because, it'd been so long since I was in front of a live audience and experiencing that and actually hearing a laugh on the other side of a joke or seeing their faces when you're talking about something. I don't know about the rest of you, but I am like zoomed out, like, still doing a ton of them. I'm still doing a ton of virtual trainings for companies. We line them up all day, virtual keynotes, virtual, all this stuff. And I love doing them, guys. I mean, it's awesome because you can reach the whole world, and in a day, you can do all these different ones and be in different countries and reach thousands of people and interact with people on social and all these places. My God, can I not wait to, I just heard from some of the events I'm doing in the spring that they're going to do it live. And I can't wait because someone's got to step up and say they're going to do it. Otherwise everybody's going to keep being afraid of liability. So I did this one in Colorado and it was so cool. Just the energy and, I felt like, my God, I felt like a stand-up comedian that needed a small club. It's weird because there was a time when I actually thought about not doing, live events anymore. I was kind of done with traveling and I'm like, I can do so much online. And, one of the things I've learned from this is just, my God, how much it's a part of me, I think I live in a world where the majority of the people that listen to my stuff, I think that they need me or they need my stuff. And what I learned was how much I needed them, how much of a fuel it was for me and how much it drove me to continue to create and help. And, so I miss that. And so, for those of you that have been asking, like, what have I been up to? That was something that I got to do that was just absolutely incredible. And just being around people and being normal and, everybody not being afraid that if you made eye contact, you were going to die. That was just so great. So great. So That's some of the stuff I've been up to. There's been a lot of other things too, obviously. And again, I know a lot of you follow online, and I message back and forth with you guys. But today's topic, when I talk about politics in business, don't worry, guys. I'm not going to get super political. I'm not going to tell you where to vote. I'm not going to tell you any of that stuff. Quite honestly, that's not my role. And I'd like to pass a law that anybody who can be swayed by 15 seconds of listening to someone who tells them how to vote probably shouldn't have the right to vote. But that's a story for another day. But it is that time of the year. We're at a time right now in the US. I know I've got people listening all over the world, but like we're at a time in the US where, we're about to have a presidential election. And it just seems like every election, things get crazier and crazier and crazier and nastier and nastier and nastier. And it's that time of the year when social media gets contentious too. And it's when unfriending happens at unprecedented rates. I'm always amazed this time of the year how people I know personally that are good people, that are rational people, that are, they've got good heads on their, on their shoulders. It's amazing how they become such a different thing when it comes to politics. Like they lose the essence of what makes them so desirable and so friendly and so and they just kind of lose that. Like people just kind of, you remember those movies, those movies where like someone gets possessed and all of a sudden their eyes just gloss over and they become this thing. And, the main characters are going, I know you're in there. Like, I know, some weird, whatever. Like, that's kind of what it's like when people get into politics. They become very, you're with me or you're against me. You're for me or you're against me. And it's just a crazy thing, right? And it's obviously not good for our businesses. It's not good for whatever. And so the real question becomes, what should you do? I get this question a lot from people, especially this time of the year. And they're like, what should I do? Should I be posting? Should I say how I feel? Should I get involved? It's funny because this time, for the first time ever, I've heard, quote unquote experts, people that, know social and whatever, telling people, that they should get involved because it's who they are, and saying these kind of things. And I think a lot of you that do listen to me, that I'm the guy that talks about how, when it comes to business, great marketing shouldn't just attract the right people. It should repel the wrong ones. So shouldn't that mean, Jared, that we should be posting, politically and letting people know which side we're on? And where do I stand on this, right? Even that whole side thing, it's like, it means that when you pick a side, you're matched up against the other. And like, I don't know, guys. Like, I don't view myself like that. Like, even when I disagree with someone, I don't view myself on a separate side. I don't view myself as me against them. I don't know. I don't view things like that. I think very much a lot of times I view the world, I view myself, I view whatever, almost like, when you're super tired and you're watching from above. I think a lot of times I view the world like that, and I view myself like that, where I'm always trying to stay rational, about things and not get caught up in emotion. Because, how many of you have ever done something or said something stupid when you were emotional, and then you regretted it later, right? And the crazy thing is, especially right now, my God, we've definitely had plenty of chances to voice our opinions the last 8 months. My God. Between the coronavirus, COVID, between social injustice, between the election, my God, just on and on and on. We literally were just in a time when there were people trying to convince you that if you didn't speak up, then that was worse than, whatever. Silence is actually, picking a side. And I just thought that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like, is that what we've come to now? Like, you don't even allow people to decide how they want to voice their opinion or not voice their opinion, or stay where they want, or maybe they're just thinking, or maybe they're just, now it's silence means that you're against. Like, man, the world has just gone a little haywire. I'm ready for it to kind of come back to axis and be a little bit normal. But yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about right now. There's a lot of, there are times, by the way, I do speak up at sometimes, but I'm kind of calculated about it, you know? I speak up on things that aren't necessarily like opinion, this, that. I speak up sometimes about things that are more related to the idea of like, facts, but even that today is just, you guys can look a few episodes ago, I talked about the coronavirus, right? I don't think that I haven't gone on social and I haven't whatever. I definitely have my opinions about it. I'm not a corona denier. I think you have to be a moron to be that. I'm also not the world is falling type of person either. It's interesting because I think that if you guys got to know me on any level, um, you would agree and disagree with me on so many things because, we live in a world where everybody tries to say that they're independent, which is really their way of setting you up, and lowering your guard to get into a conversation and then really hit you with the side that they're from. Um, I'm kind of truly independent, like really am. I don't look to CNN or Fox News to figure out how I feel about things because I already know how they feel before an issue even happens. I know exactly how they feel, right? And we live in a world where I believe the more that you think you're right and the other side is wrong, it's probably more you should keep to yourself, because you get these people that are just so sure. I'm always like right now, like, how are you so sure about anything? How are you so sure about a politician you don't even know? Um, you know, one's corrupt, the other one's corrupt. They're probably both corrupt, but I mean, you really don't know. Maybe they're both great. Maybe they're both. But isn't it amazing in the world we live in today that people want such certainty that they're willing to get into arguments? People are willing to get into arguments about topics politically that they really don't even know that much about. They just heard something on the channel they watch that gets them feverishly angry, and now they're ready to go, not allow this to happen. And when you actually get into conversations, you bring something up and you can tell they're just clueless. They're just emotional, the more you think you're right, the more you think the other side is wrong, the more you think the other side doesn't even have an argument, they're just whatever. You should probably keep to yourself. You're probably at that moment a little bit in that emotional place, Um, think about the world we live in right now. Did you ever think, I don't care if you're on right, left, center, libertarian. I wish I had it right now. I could show you guys. I took a political spectrum thing. It's a political, whatever thing. I did it with my son. I was literally dead center with just a slight, like a smidge over to libertarian. Like, was happy to see it. But it made sense. Like I think that's kind of where thinkers, not ideologues, where thinkers usually fall. But did you ever think we'd live in a world where you could literally be getting censored? Um, we live in a world right now where just yesterday, the leaders of Twitter and Facebook and all these places were before the Senate because they're deciding what goes on their platform, based on whether they think it's right or not. And it's just, no matter where you fall on this, it's just kind of like, man, did you ever think that would be happening? It's crazy to me that that's even an option right now. I kind of like it when the crazy gets to talk, because at least you know where they stand. What's the world look like when crazy isn't allowed to talk? When you don't know where people stand, when everybody talks the same, when everybody says the same words so they don't get censored, when everybody uses the right, like even just the right words, that's a dangerous place to be. And yet that's it's weird. It's kind of where we're kind of going right now. So here's my advice, guys. I'm wandering around chatting as if you guys are sitting right here with me, but I think that's the beauty of a podcast. Should you be posting politically or not? Here's my advice, okay? I would say stay quiet or stay neutral, okay? Stay quiet or stay neutral. Now, why is that? What you do in your personal life is up to you, okay? But what you do in your business life affects you. Those are two different things. We need to understand that, okay? What you do in your personal life is up to you. What you do in your business life affects you, okay? Nobody goes to your post, to your channel, to your whatever, to figure out how they should believe. Have you guys ever seen, some of you have gotten caught up in these wars back and forth, on Facebook threads and YouTube and Instagram and all these places where, people are literally just going back and forth, back and forth. And then they go look up a new stat on Google and they throw it at them that they didn't even know 10 seconds ago, but there it is. And then the other one goes and looks up for a competing stat and there it is. And then another one comes up with another one and there it is. And yet neither one of those extremes are ever true, right? Like, remember when the CDC released about 3 weeks ago that only 6% of the deaths from COVID were only from COVID? And I knew this was going to be a feasting ground because all of a sudden, the extremes came out, and one came out and said, "See, everybody, hoax. Only 6% were legitimate," right? And the other ones came out with the exact opposite side. And yet the truth of the matter is that, yeah, probably 100% of the ones they counted as COVID probably shouldn't have been counted as COVID. Like, there were people who got counted as COVID who never even tested for COVID. But at the same time, a lot of death happens when multiple diseases clash together. So when you had COVID and then you also had pneumonia, that's a bad connection, where if they just had one or the other, it wouldn't have happened, which is the way a lot of people die, right? And so the truth, again, was somewhere in the middle probably, but this was like everyone's chance to whatever. My thing is, stay neutral or stay quiet, because what you do in your personal life is up to you. What you do in your business life affects you. And nobody's coming to you to change their mind. Nobody in those rants online, and when people are going back and forth and posting their stats back and forth, I have yet to ever see one example where someone goes, "Hadn't thought of it that way. I think the other way now." Like, I've never seen that once. And yet I've seen probably thousands of these kinds of posts. And so what's the point, guys? You've got to determine, I said on an earlier podcast, I said in my last book, nobody can drive you crazy unless you give them the keys. Why would you get into a battle you can never win, where there is no win, by the way? Even if you win, you've now outed yourself and half the public doesn't want to work with you. Like, why would you do that? It's just not a winning scenario, and you're not changing anybody. You're not changing the world. You don't owe it to the world to make your stance. Nobody's changing based on that. Like, that's Michael Jordan once said, when he was getting flack for not being political, that Republicans buy shoes too, which really unveiled which side he was on, I think unintentionally. But he did see that, right? There's no win. Guys, look at what just happened with, the NBA and the NFL got completely woke. And they were putting Black Lives Matters everywhere, and they had names of people on there. And like, I'm watching this going, are you out of your mind? Like you're not changing anything. You're just ticking off the other side. And you're literally now in a world where you're supposed to entertain, going to lose the ability to entertain a lot of people because they're just going to shut you off. And everybody's like, no, this is going to make change happen. This is going to do it right here. And doesn't change anything. Didn't, whatever. All we do know, though, is that we know that Game 6 of the NBA Finals, when the same game last year had 19 million viewers, this one had 6 million at a time when TV viewership should be through the roof. Because more people are home, they're not going out, they're not, whatever. And it's just a great example that no matter what side you fall on this, whether you think that they need to be social warriors or whether you don't, or whether you whatever, it's not changing anything other than their business. I just saw a thing yesterday that their overall business so far is down 10%, and probably will continue to fall once merchandise sales and everything else come in. And they're not changing the world with that. That's not how it happens. People don't go to athletes to figure out what their world viewpoint should be. People don't go to athletes, most of which never even went to college. Even their high school days, it was the easiest high school in the world because they were top level athletes. So whatever they had to do to get through, they didn't really have to learn anything. And all of a sudden they're going up in the real world and educating everybody else. I don't think most people are looking to them to be educated. And so it's just not a win there. It's not something that, so look at your business. People don't go to them to figure out how they should feel. People don't go to us to figure out how they should feel. I'm a big believer that you only have the authority someone gives you. Have you ever been around those people who, no matter what, every time you say something, they give you their opinion, or they give you advice, or they give you, and you didn't ask for it. And it's just like, Okay, can we get done with this? Cause like, I didn't ask you for advice. Like, you're a mess. Why would I ask you for advice? Right. Um, that's kind of what it's like. You have the authority that someone gives you. And so if someone gives you authority and wants to talk to you about, hey, you look like you get your life together. It looks like you're a pretty, balanced person. Like, what is that? Well, then it's fine. Right. And that's really where you affect people, affect clients, affect is through the relationships. It's not done through the scale. It's not done through the mass. And that's the crazy thing is that, you would think that by numbers, you would be making a difference by having mass scale, and if that were true, the United States wouldn't have a Republican in office right now because just about every single celebrity, Hollywood, whatever, is left-wing Democrat. And yet plenty of Republicans get elected. And yet every election, they just keep on trying. They keep saying how terrible everybody is. They keep saying, and it has zero effect, if not negative effect, because no one thinks that because someone gives you a piece of paper that says, when I say action, say these words, and then you do it, that now we need to go to you to figure out how we should feel about the world. And it's the same in everything. You would think that that mass scale is where you'd have influence, but the truth of the matter is, like I've said it forever, the smaller you can make the world, the more successful you'll be. When someone gives you authority and asks you what you think, that's a different thing. Now you have the ability to do that. Short of that, you're just hurting business. You're hurting people's feelings on you, like what they think about you, what they, it's just not worth it, I guess is what I'm trying to say to you guys. It's just not worth it. And more importantly, I would think that we want to make sure that in our relationships with people and in our relationships with our clients and in our relationships with, that we're not judging everybody by which person they vote for. We're not, I had a situation, my God, I had a situation, I don't know, 5 years ago, maybe when Trump was running against Hillary, and somebody sent me a message and said, hey man, I don't know if you know this, but you might want to unlike it. But I just use this tool that shows me any of my friends that like Trump on Facebook, and you were on it. You might want to get rid of that before someone else sees it. And I think to myself, I didn't even know I did. It was probably back when, I was reading his books and, business, celebrity, whatever, but I don't care either way. I like plenty of people that are conservative, plenty of people that are liberal. I like plenty of people. Like, I just don't want to live in a world where I ever view the world like that, where my opinion of someone, like, dislike, literally comes from who they're voting for. Like, do we understand how shallow that is? Do we understand like these labels we put on people? Anyone who votes for this guy is a blank. Anybody who votes for this girl is a blank. Anybody who votes for this, guys, we have got to be bigger than that. My whole podcast, my whole life, my whole world is about teaching and training and trying to elevate people and trying to, get them to understand how to close that potential gap and be successful. And I can tell you right now that small-minded thinking is not the way. It's not the way on any level. I've got liberal friends, I've got conservative friends, but they're not liberal or conservative because of what they saw me post, through my business. And for those of you that are like, well, then on my personal account, I'll do this. And on my business account, I'll do this. Not how it works anymore, guys. That veil between business and personal no longer exists. It's not even like a thing anymore. Like, you just need to assume people follow you personally. We just hired a new marketing person here. And we tell people when we hire them, Jared's people are going to follow you. Okay. So if you're, sacrificing animals every Friday night or something, you need to cut that out. Obviously that's an extreme example, but like, you get the point. Like, they're going to follow you personally. They're going to follow you on all the different places. And that's how it works. So same thing goes for us, guys. Same thing. Look, it's serious times, it's serious issues, but let's be very real for a second. I said this at the advance, and I really mean this. If your life or your business depends on the people that are elected to office and whether or not they get in office or whether or not, then you might as well get in a coffin and wait, because that means you have no control over your life whatsoever. You are putting way too much power and control into things and people you have absolutely no control over. Like, it's like I questioned myself a couple years ago because I would get so crazy when my teams would play and like lose my mind if they lost and whatever. And finally I was like, why do I get so tied up? Like, they don't even know me. Like, if they saw me, they wouldn't even recognize me. And yet I care so much. And I'm like, why am I? It's like that, guys. We need to get to the place where what we do matters way more than who's in office or who's, saying whatever. And understanding that we do have, we do have a responsibility to our clients and our public and that kind of stuff. And it's not to tell them how to vote. That's only hurting you. I promise you, that's only hurting you. But we have a responsibility to be good people. We have a responsibility to be role models. We have a responsibility to, to lead by example. We have a lot of responsibilities. And then that's what leads to people giving you authority to ask you what you think about things. And then they actually take it with a grain of salt, more than a grain of salt. And they actually, it means something to them. But to just at scale be telling everybody how to think and how to believe in whatever, I'm telling you guys, if you have any trust in me and you have any, you listen to me for advice on anything, not a good idea. Okay. What you do in your personal life is up to you. What you do in your business life affects you. Okay. I want you to remember that. Okay. So guys, if you enjoyed this, obviously I'd love some love from it. We will start having these coming out more on a regular basis. Do me a favor, go to connectwithjared.com, connectwithjared.com. Send me a message on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you like, and just let me know what you thought about this. A little bit different topic than what I usually do, but hope it was helpful for you guys. Hope I get to see some of you of an upcoming event live soon. Hopefully that'll happen real soon. I'll see you guys soon.